Welcome back to Picky React Conversations with our experts, your decryption key to the future of cryptography. And the journey continues. In this new series, we go deeper into the world of post-quantum cryptography. We bring you fresh perspectives, new discoveries, and the latest developments from inside the Picky React project. This time around, our experts take you behind the scenes of real pilot deployments, share the results and lessons learned from our ongoing exploration activities, present the first outcomes and findings from our project research, and tackle the legal landscape surrounding the post-quantum transition. Because securing the future isn't just a technical challenge, but it's a regular too. The Picky React project, funded by the European Union's Horizon program, remains on its mission to design, develop, and validate a framework for a faster and smoother transition from classical to post-quantum cryptography across a wide variety of contexts and usage domains. From cryptographic agility to PQC migration paths, and from validation tools to real quantum computer testing, the work is very much alive and evolving. So, join us once again as we sit down with our project experts to explore the passing world of quantum threats, cryptographic innovation, and how Picky React continues to pave the way for a more secure and post-quantum future. My name is Marvara Badzaid, and I'm one of the communication and dissemination experts of Astral. So, without further ado, let's start. Okay, today with us we have Akis Kourtis, who is the project's coordinator, and we will have the project's results in a nutshell. So, hello Akis.
Hello everyone, I am Akis Kourtis, researcher from National Center for Scientific Research Demokritos and project coordinator of Picky React.
Hello Akis again, and let's start our discussion. So, Picky React delivered a framework that combined multiple elements that form a practical ecosystem for assessment, validation, and migration to the post-quantum era. Can you please guide us through this ecosystem, and maybe if you can give us a more detailed description of its elements?
Definitely. And I think the best way to picture Picky React is an ecosystem with 7 building blocks that fit together. This is what we call the key exploitable results. Each one is useful on its own, but the real power comes from how they connect. First of all, we have the migration framework, that is a structured methodology that helps an organization move from classical cryptography to quantum-resistant algorithms. Second, we have the PQC algorithm cataloged, a curated repository of post-quantum algorithms and their detailed information about each one. The quantum processing unit, as we call it, which is based on the language Fraunhofer Focus has developed called Eclipse Queries, which help us evaluate how post-quantum algorithms really resist quantum attacks. The rest of the 3, which are categorized among 3 use cases, ranging from PQC for smart grids, which apply quantum-resistant cryptography to smart grid deployments, QKD enablers for 5G, which is basically an on-demand quantum key distribution and PQC mode running over a 5G network. The last but not least from the use cases, the PQC enablers for ledgers, for distributed ledgers, which is a quantum-resistant distributed ledger prototype designed for managing service-level agreements across end-to-end network slicing. And last but not least, we have the Picky React interfaces and enablers, which is the external interfacing that we had with the different open calls that were awarding during the duration of our project. Taking all this together, the 7 elements, gives us the full chain, a methodology to plan, a catalog to choose from, real hardware and simulations to validate against, and apart from the 3 pilot domains, a wide range of different industries and sectors that PQC has actually been deployed and tested.
Okay, that's very interesting, and thank you very much. And maybe if you can give us like an example of these 7 elements, how they can be implemented maybe in the real world.
So, implementation has been done as we are running through the last mile of our project, domain by domain through the 3 pilots, plus the reusable open call horizontal components. The migration framework and algorithm catalog are the horizontal layer. Anyone can pick them to plan their own migration. On top of that, the pilots act as concrete blueprints. A utility looking at quantum-safe smart grid communications can take the smart grid pilot as a starting point, and the telco can do the same with a 5G pilot. Same applies for a blockchain or ledger operator with a ledger pilot or a network operations center operator that want to integrate and develop a blockchain-based technology. We have also opened the framework through two open calls, which brought in SMEs and technology providers to test their own PQC-based solutions inside the PQ React environment. This widened the implementation beyond the original consortium and fed us with real-world feedback back into these tools. Finally, the outputs are being pushed into standards bodies, into the wide SPQR cluster that we are currently leading, and also other EU projects that can build on them rather than reinventing the wheel.
Perfect. And let's now move on the benefits for the project stakeholders. Can you maybe give us some examples of the benefits for the PQ React stakeholders?
Because our stakeholders have a heterogeneous nature, it really depends on who the stakeholder is, and that's the point. The framework is deliberately multi-stakeholder. For example, critical infrastructure operators, utilities, telcos, transport, healthcare, the benefit is a concrete migration path. They get tools to assess their cryptographic exposure, validate algorithms to choose from, and pilots that show what a real deployment actually looks like. They don't have to gamble. For technology providers and SMEs, especially those that came through the open calls, the benefit is access. Access to a European testing environment and access to a network of buyers who are starting to ask hard questions about quantum readiness. Last but not least, for governments and regulators, the benefit is evidence and standards-ready input. PQ React feeds into NIST-aligned and European standardization efforts and provides the data they need to write credible migration timelines into policy. For our consortium partners themselves, beyond the obvious building credibility products and intellectual property products, the benefit has been the cross-disciplinary collaboration. You don't usually get a smart grid utility, a telco, and a research center, and also a quantum computing group around the same table. That mix is where a lot of practical insight and our success came from.
Okay, and what about the EU citizens? How do you see PQ React impacting the lives of EU citizens?
For European citizens, we can say that our vital contribution to the society is to remain in somewhat invisible manner. Good cryptography is invisible, but the impact on their lives is very real. When you pay with a card, log into your bank account, check your medical record, or charge an electric car, eventually in the future use your EU digital identity wallet, you are relying on cryptography to keep that interaction private and trustworthy. PQ React is helping to make sure that cryptography keeps working in a world where quantum computers exist. So the citizen-level impact is that the digital services they already depend on stay secure through the next technological shift instead of quietly becoming forgeable or readable by an adversary. There is also a harvest now decrypt later dimension that's worth saying clearly. Sensitive data of today can be harvested by a hostile actor and be decrypted years later when quantum hardware matures. PQ React is a part of closing that window now, before the harm is locked in.
Okay, you say harvest now, decrypt later, and it reminds me the PQ Next project that we know that you also the coordinator in the PQ Next, which is the continuation of the PQ React. Do you want to give us maybe a brief overview of the PQ Next project?
Yes, of course. PQ Next is the natural next step, and it picks up exactly where PQ React leaves off. PQ-React built the foundational framework, the algorithm catalog, the validation tools, and 3 focused pilots. PQ-Next takes all that up and scales it up. The main idea of PQ-Next is a richer migration framework that I can analyze and model different transition scenarios, and then produce tailored migration plans for the organization in front of it. It will extend the algorithm catalog with hybrid schemes, combining classical and post-quantum algorithms, and there is also an intelligent compliance navigation system, which addresses the regulatory and legal side of migration, which is something the industry is increasingly asking for. Where PQ-React had 3 pilots, PQ-Next goes much broader. Large-scale pilots in finance, critical infrastructure, telecommunications, and digital identities. It also uses digital twinning to model migrations before committing to them in production. So, the spirit is the same: make the transition smooth, secure and practical. But the scope, the realism and the regulatory readiness all step up.
Okay, very interesting. We will stay tuned also for the PQ-Next project, because we know that more podcasts will be also produced with PQ-Next, and we hope to have you also in one of our upcoming episodes. And let's look ahead now. What has this project taught you that you didn't expect? And if you have any key takeaways or reflection that you would like to share with us?
For sure. A few things genuinely surprised us. The first is how much of post-quantum migration is not about cryptography. We expected the hard path to be math-related. In practice, the hardest part have been discovery. Most organizations don't actually know where all their cryptography lives. And crypto agility, meaning the ability to swap algorithms cleanly when the next change comes. Those are architectural problems, not algorithmic ones. That reframed how we think about the framework. The next thing is urgency. When we started, the quantum threat felt distant to a lot of stakeholders. Over the course of the project, with NIST publishing its standards, with regulators starting to set deadlines, and with the harvest now decrypt later narrative becoming better understood, the conversation shifted. The question we get now isn't should we migrate, it's how do we migrate and how fast. PQ-React was designed for exactly that question, and PQ-Next will take the answer further.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Akis, for this insightful discussion, and we hope to see you in one of our next episodes.
Thank you for having me and for giving the opportunity to communicate the messages and outcomes of our 2 projects. Thank you, Marco.